This is definitely going to be up there in one of my weirdest videos. Hi, it's Shayla, and today I'm introducing a new series I'm calling Imma Let You Finish, which is basically just me interrupting your day to talk about something that none of you asked for, which is like all my videos. So today we're talking about the sinking ship that was CHAOLAENA from the Throne of Glass series. But as the mortally wounded Captain James Lawrence would say during the War of 1812 with his dying breaths, "Don't give up the ship." And I won't. Ever. Sure, he meant it in a more literal and deadly way, but the sentiment remains. Minor spoilers for the Throne of Glass series ahead, so if you have not read it all the way through, or if you just have not read it at all, I would suggest leaving this video, but really I'm not spoiling any of the major plot points, simply talking about the romances in some of the books, so I really don't think that you're going to be spoiled that much. Now, whether you loved or hated Throne of Glass, or haven't read it at all, which in that case I'm not sure why you're watching this video, there was some good to come out of those books. There really was. I enjoyed the series for the most part. I think I enjoyed it up to Queen of Shadows. Heir of Fire really tested my patience because I found a good chunk of it, like over half, to be very, very boring. But like, you know, I stuck around. And I think up until Queen of Shadows, I was doing okay, and then I definitely noticed the shift in how the writing and the story were changing, and how the priorities were shifting a bit. And so, yeah, I still like the series overall, but definitely from Queen of Shadows to the rest of the books, which are here, hello, I was, you know, just not as interested. But I really just think that things will never be as good as they were when we were reading Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight. Those were probably the best two books. Don't at me. I feel like that's an unpopular opinion. If it's not, then cool, but if it is, oops. It was just a simpler time for those first two books, you know? It was a time when one of the only POC characters in the entire story wasn't brutally murdered. It was a time when there wasn't an overkill amount of sex scenes in every book, and it was a time when CHAOLAENA was a thing. It was a time when Chaol, Westfall, and Celaena Sardothian were fuck buddies or like dating or something. They were together, essentially. Chaol and Celaena were just so good for each other. They were able to bring each other to climax. They were able to kind of support each other. They made each other stronger both mentally and physically. But especially Chaol helped Celaena become more empowered and just felt like she was supported. They had so many great moments together, and their relationship didn't feel like it was based in just purely physical attraction. It felt real. It felt like they started out as friends and then they grew into something like romantic, and it was just really nice. Oh, it was so good. So let's just take a little walk down memory lane and just go through some of the quotes I found that really bring us back to the good times. So here's one of my absolute favorites, is when there's this holiday in the Throne of Glass series called Yulemas, and they have a whole ball and stuff, but first during the day they go to like a church service type of thing, and Celaena ends up falling asleep during the service, and she falls asleep on Chaol's shoulder, and this quote is from that scene. Oh, I should reenact it. Okay. Okay, so just pretend I just woke up. How long was I asleep? He didn't respond. How long was I asleep? She asked again, and noticed a hint of red in his cheeks. You were asleep too? Until you began drooling on my shoulder. Just, the banter. This one I can't really recreate because, you know, as they say, it takes two to tango, but here we go. His eyes blazed with hunger that matched her own, and she kissed him again, tugging him into her bedroom. He let her pull him, not breaking the kiss as he kicked the door shut behind them. And then there was only them, and skin against skin, and when they reached that moment when there was nothing more between them at all, Celaena kissed Chaol deeply and gave him everything she had. I think the only point I want to make with that one is like, yes, look at that, they have the chemistry. However, this was before Sarah J. Maas decided she wanted to be raunchy, which I have nothing wrong with a little raunch. The problem with the later half of the series is just that there's so much of it. It's just all sex all the time, and it's just hormones everywhere. But that's a tangent. My point is, where were those hormones in this scene? That's the real chemistry. They were making real chemistry there, and we got the fade to black. And finally, let's just do a more romantic moment, and this is just there to prove that Chaol and Celaena kind of were like good for each other in the sense that they really helped each other get through a lot. And they help each other just be in the present, be together in that moment, and not have any worries. And it was just a nice time. So when her eyes met his, she forgot about the cold and the moon and the glass palace looming above them. The secret library and the king's plans, and Mort and Elena faded into nothing. She took his hand, and there was only the music and Chaol. This is definitely going to be up there in one of my weirdest videos. So another crucial, most important relationship building scene for them was the circle match, which I won't spoil anything. I'll just say, like, there was a very epic fight going on, and it was looking pretty grim for CHAOLAENA. And then there's Chaol there, and he's her little cheerleader. So let's just read it, okay? "CHAOLAENA," Chaol said gently, and then she heard the scraping noise as his hand came into view, sliding across the flagstones. His fingertips stopped just at the edge of the white line. "CHAOLAENA," he breathed, his voice laced with pain and hope. This was all she had left, his outstretched hand and the promise of hope of something better waiting on the other side of the line. Chaol was her dandelion in the spring. He was PETA. Maybe that's why I like him so much. He's like basically PETA, but he's not, because PETA was way more gentle and sweet, and like he wasn't trying to be a badass. But maybe, okay, whatever. He represented hope to her, and hope was taken away. Hope was snatched away with Sarah J. Maas's massive mistakes. So there. Some moments, not all of them, probably not even the best ones, but I read this series like 5 years ago. I don't remember everything that happened in those first 2 books, and I really don't care enough to just go through and read the entire thing just to find the best Chaol and CHAOLAENA moments. So, moving on. Before we go into those massive mistakes, before we go into those massive mistakes, that was subtle. Before we go into those massive mistakes, I just want to make sure that we address, the elephants in the room, which are Dorian and Rowan. So we don't really need to go much into Dorian. He was friend-zoned by the end of book 1. He was no competition, he's whatever. He was cute. He liked to read. I like that about him. There's literally a line where Chaol asks CHAOLAENA if all she ever does is read, and that's a little bit of a flag against him, but people should have other interests too. I don't only like to read, I like to talk to my phone. About books. But we do need to discuss Rowan Whitethorn, who does share some similarities with Chaol because he also represents a time where, like, CHAOLAENA needed more empowerment and to figure things out, and he definitely helped her in a different kind of way, at a more intense level. So I'm not saying that Rowan wasn't important to the story. He definitely does a lot for CHAOLAENA / I don't know if it would be a spoiler to say, but the other name. Her character development. But it also felt like to me that Rowan was just suddenly a love interest, and it didn't really make much sense. Like, the only thing I see in that relationship was he was hot and he was there. Because he was a buff, beefy, fey male with lots of testosterone and stuff, he was automatically a love interest, and like you can see that's where Sarah J. Maas wanted it to head. But like, no. I mean, he was just mean in the beginning. He was mean and impatient, and then there wasn't much to him, and then they became friends. And even though they kept it pretty platonic in Heir of Fire, I still think that you could clearly see that Sarah J. Maas was going to make him the new love interest, which was not fun for me. ROWAELIN could have easily been a really cool platonic friendship, and they didn't need to get together. I had none of that. But I'm not even upset that they're together. Like, I don't mind Rowan. He's cool or whatever, I guess, but he just wasn't the one, There were 2 things that really ended up being the downfall of CHAOLAENA, and they did not have anything to do with Rowan. They actually came before Rowan. One of them being that SJM turned Chaol into a dumbass, and the other one being that SJM turned Chaol into a little bitch baby. So, yeah. Now look, if my significant other ended up being a vampire or, I don't know, a demon or something, yeah, that would certainly give me pause, They could very easily harm me or eat my friends or something. Who knows? Why be scared of the Fae? I mean, yeah, they're sneaky often, and sure, they can still kill you. Like, anyone can kill you. anyone can kill you. You shouldn't be scared of anyone just because you know that they have the capability of killing another person. I don't know where this is headed. Wow, let me get back on track. A giant rift happens between CHAOLAENA and Chaol because of him finding out who she truly is. And he automatically thinks like he has to protect Dorian from her and that he has to protect Dorian with his life, Like he becomes so much more loyal to Dorian after this, and just like this is his only purpose on Earth and this is the only reason he should ever like do anything for the love of Dorian. And I'm just like, she just saved your life at the end of this book, so it doesn't really make any sense that you're suddenly so scared of her and think she's a threat, because she's clearly not. I mean, I did just talk about these out of order, but I guess the other thing would be the whole thing with the Princess of Elway, which again, not giving away too much, but that was where he was being a straight up dumbass because he didn't put together some very obvious clues to how that was going to go down. So I'm a little mad at him for that, and I think CHAOLAENA had every right to be mad at him for what happened that night because he was an idiot, no question about it. But to fully blame him for what happened is harsh, uncalled for, and unfair. I really should have just made this a spoilery video so I could actually talk about my points in full detail, but I've already filmed most of this and I'm not going to do that now, so I think I'm going to wrap it up here. My point with all that was just that Sarah J. Maas likes to really take characters and suddenly bend them backward, going a different direction than how they have been the entirety of the book, so that you just hate them after that and you kind of hate all the choices they make and you hate how they behave, but they never acted like that at any other point in the book, so you're just very confused and like, why are they behaving like this, because you know them and that they wouldn't do that. And it's just really frustrating that that's all she knows how to do, because that's how she introduces her new love interest. She makes you hate the one that came before, and it's just like she could do a better job, is all I'm saying. So anyway, everyone makes the argument that yeah, like Chaol was good for her at the time, but she would never have become who she is by the end of the series if she had stayed with Chaol. Like, even he says it, I can't remember which book it is, but I found the quote. I was what CHAOLAENA needed after Indovir, but ROWAELIN is who Aelin needs forever. And I just don't agree. So that's the end of this video. Thanks so much for watching. I had a lot of fun making this, but I do just want to make sure I say that everyone has a right to who they love. Okay. Everyone has a right to ship who they ship. Like, no one's ship is ridiculous, no one's ship is irrelevant. Please respect mine and I'll respect yours. Again, I have nothing against ROWAELIN. I think they're cute together, whatever, but I just felt like their romance was a little poorly done, and then by the time that we got to like them spending more time together as a couple, it was very much more just sex, sex, sex. So like, I don't have anything against them, and if you were hanging in there for Dorian and CHAOLAENA, I'm so sorry for your loss. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you soon in another one.